Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Worktech. And we're very pleased to kick off the conference this year in working with Cindy and Kate and the Worktech organizers. We thought we'd look at what's next in workplace strategy, workplace innovation. And for those of us who have been in the workplace innovation world for 25 years and have worked with small companies, mid-sized companies, medium-sized companies, the rubber really hits the road with large-sized companies. And today we have three examples with a tremendous panel of companies that represent more than 200,000 employees, one of which has been on the workplace journey for 30 years, 20 years, 15, 20 years. So I think we're looking for a very robust dialogue as to what these companies are doing. We'll have a Q&A between the panel for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we'll open it up for 5 minutes of questions from the audience. So with that, I'd like to introduce each of our panelists, let them give you a brief overview of who they are, a little bit about their company's background, and their current workplace program. So with that, Marilyn, we'll start with you. Marilyn Simeone of Citigroup.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody time this morning. I am with Citigroup. Citigroup has approximately 250,000 people. We have a portfolio of 64 million square feet within the United States, throughout the globe, and about 25 million of that is retail banking. I am with Citi Realty Group. I'm Director of Global Planning and Design, and we are a group of about 520 direct employees with outsourcing about another 2,400 people. So it's quite a robust group of people within our organization. And my background has been, I started in the design studio, and I did that for many years. And I realized that I was more into the business end of the workplace. And I have been in the corporate financial industry for a lot of years, doing many roles from the workplace, everywhere from global environmental sustainability and stewardship into leading a 2 million square foot interiors of a corporate campus.
Thank you. Nona, who leads workplace strategies at Siemens, North America.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming today. This is going to be an exciting day. I have been with Siemens for almost 5 years. We have rolled out a new program within Siemens called New Way of Working, which is a global initiative. In the US, our goal is to have an implementation of over 6 million square feet of New Way of Working, which is an open floor plan with a desk sharing ratio of 1 to 1.3, soon to be 1 to 1.5. We are 19% into our implementation with just over 7,000 employees that we have moved into this new style of working. It's been very successful, which we're going to talk about today, because we have a very robust change management process. And my background is really, I started with Citibank as a facilities manager out in Albuquerque, of all places. And from facilities, I went to work for Merck Pharmaceuticals here in New Jersey to help put their global standards in place. I have a procurement background, and I am the resource specialist for everything having to do with commercial interior space. I'm very much interested in sustainability as well as health and well-being. I think our program is very inclusive of some of those core principles. Right now, I am the workplace strategist, sometimes by default. We have a program that is run primarily through our real estate group, and I support our real estate organization as well as the procurement activities that have to do with all the capital projects. So every project that is implemented, I am the go-to person for everything having to do with the commercial space.
Great, Nona, thank you so much. Stephen Tiell leads Accenture's Technology Vision Group, but Stephen's also representing Accenture from a workplace innovation and workplace strategy perspective. Stephen.
Thank you, Peter. And thank you all of you for joining us today. As Peter said, I'm Stephen Tiell. I work at Accenture. We're currently, last time I checked, around 285,000 employees worldwide. We have about 25 million square feet of office space. And one of our big challenges is really how do we grow the business? We grow about 16,000 employees a year. How do we grow the business at twice the rate of our real estate footprint? So it's very much a living lab of workplace technologies, which works out very nicely for me and my team because we have a lot of rich data to draw from as we look at how technologies impact things like the future of work and other trends that I'll be talking about later today.
Great. So let's kick it off and talk about workplace challenges. And again, for those of us who've been on the workplace journey for 20 plus years, 25 years, first workplace strategy actually, Marilyn, at Citigroup in 1994, where we predicted that about 30% of the Citigroup population then of about 90,000 could work in a mobile banner. And that was pre-internet, laptops had just come out. Can you give us a refresh on where Citigroup is today, and then what are your greatest challenges? And then we'll go to Nona and Steve as well.
Sure, definitely will. The program that Peter just referenced is a program that now has moved over into our human resource group. It's called City Workplace Strategy. And it's really allowing people to work from home or to work from other locations. And that is more for the flexible working and everything. So what's really nice about it is that it is a program that's been in place for quite a while, and also the technology allows people to do it. And a lot of times you don't even realize who you're speaking with.
And that's about 30,000 folks within City?
It's probably not quite as high, but it's not. It's getting close to that, correct. And then part of it is too is people use it for a short period of time, possibly for something that's going in their personal life, and then come back and work full time. And it changes with the person's job and position as well. So it is a very flexible program, and it has a very robust training program in it, and a commitment from the employee on the program. So when you do sign up for it, it is not just signing up and saying I'm working from home.
So 20 years of evolution. It's now really managed by HR.
Correct.
And then what is your current next generation efforts?
Our next generation efforts, there's a lot of them, and the challenges that I'd like to reference on that is because we're in over 100 countries, there's a lot of things to be considered because of the cultural differences, and also the ability for people not to be able to work at home in all locations. And so the things that we're looking at is free addressing, activity-based workplace. We're looking at ways to optimize our space, which a lot of people I think are doing as well, is determining how many people, the vacancy rate in the building on a given day. And our metrics is showing, which is quite interesting, regardless of location and regardless of business units, there seems to be pretty consistency in terms of what is our percentage of occupancy in a building at one time. And that ranges around 70 to 80%, and that's pretty consistent around the globe. So a lot of it is not necessarily the business as much as it is, I think it's more human behavior, and also people traveling a lot.
Excellent. Nona, what are your greatest challenges at Siemens today, and what are your future projected workplace programs?
Well, I think our greatest challenges at this time is to continue to spread the word and use communication and our internal marketing to really promote our program. The U.S. has been extremely successful at implementing our new program.
And what adoption rates are you at in the U.S.?
Sorry?
Adoption rates or number of employees?
Well, as I said, there's over 6,000 employees that have already moved into a new way of working environment. We have 60,000 employees in the U.S. Our goal is to make at least 50% of them into these locations, but there are certain triggers that have to happen in order for a project to actually go through an analysis for a new way of working. Part of that is consolidation, a new construction project, and more and more we're finding that because we have internal executive champions who really speak to the value of moving in this direction, it is really very popular within our organization, and we keep it at the top of the list whenever we're having our town hall meetings. Our executives are always talking about the value and how people are very happy moving into these places. Someone recently shared with me that they always struggled with seasonal affective disorder, and this is the first year that they did not.
Great.
So I think the health and wellness of our program is yet to be captured in the communication. And I see our greatest challenges really being the fact that we just need to continue to get the word out, continue to work with our stakeholders on the implementation process, listen to what their needs are, and just continue to collaborate on moving the program forward.
Excellent. Steve, having worked with Accenture since 1989, dating myself a little here, Accenture is now over, I think, 250,000 employees, and has always been seen as a pioneer in workplace innovation and workplace strategy. What are your greatest challenges that you see within Accenture?
So one thing that's really interesting is we're looking at ways to really move the fixed costs to more variable costs. So how do we keep, our utilization rate is about 85%, but how do we keep that peak utilization rate from our office space and move it onto other office spaces, such as using things like liquid space? And so as we move in that direction, we run into some technology challenges as well with cybersecurity, with using cloud infrastructure, and really keeping users' data private to the company while we give them the flexibility to work wherever and however they choose. And so that's really where we're spending a lot of effort right now and kind of the workplace.
And what percentage of the Accenture, say, North American portfolio folks or square footage will be going to, say, liquid space, sort of a third-party space solution? Do you have metrics that you can share?
Yeah, so liquid space is only available in North America right now. So it's not available to everybody to use. It's kind of being phased in as we roll it out, depending upon markets, depending upon which groups are more receptive to that kind of chargeback. And so it's very much an experiment, but we've been experimenting with that for about 2 years now.
Excellent. So we've talked a little bit about metrics. Let's talk about change management and, say, future casting, next generation metrics. Nona, let's begin with you. I know you shared some of your metrics. Where do you hope to get to, and what sort of change management, change enablement, in addition to what you've described, do you see to ensure success?
Well, one of the things that we have within our program is 4 main work streams. We have the real estate piece, we have the HR piece, who's responsible for change management, the IT piece, and the communications piece. So all 4 of those work streams work together to create a successful project. We start 2 to 3 weeks as soon as we identify a project with the change management piece. And that is, it's gone through several reiterations of what is working and what is not working. The HR folks, there's actually 2 people who manage all of the change management agents throughout the company. When a project is launched, they identify change agents from each of the business units that then act as a representative for that business unit. In the project we just completed in Islin, we had 27 business units in 4 floors. That was a lot of people who had an opinion about many, many things, but these meetings were held bi-weekly. All the notes were captured on our intranet website. There was always a very healthy and very robust dialogue. And I think everybody's needs have to be identified and addressed because they're important. You know, you're taking something away from people, that's the perception. So in order to be able to manage the change and educate people on what it means and the direction of the company and the core principles behind the program, you have to have that open dialogue. And I think Siemens does a great job in managing that. There was a time that we spent half a day of mandatory training that was led by a change manager, but we found that to be very, very expensive, and it took 4 hours out of everybody's day. Now what we're finding is that the change agents are really working one-on-one with each other and with the core project team, and they're included in the process.
Excellent. Marilyn, I know Citi has a long history of partnering with HR, a little bit about change management, and then the metrics that you're achieving today and where you hope to achieve in the future.
Okay, one of the things is we have a lot of different programs that are running at different levels, and some of them are interesting. It's being spearheaded out of our Asia Pac region, rather, and then some things being spearheaded out of New York. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of material going back and forth. Some things that we're piloting, I would say, are more that we're piloting so we get an understanding, and so it's a little bit softer on a change management. And then once we figure it out, we get early adopters and we incorporate them and we do prototype workplaces with them and we work with them to capture the information. Then we have things that are very similar to, as Nona was saying, where we partner with our HR, our communications, and as well as our technology folks. And we have done extensive project metric gathering before we even go to the client. And so this way we have an understanding what is going on, what are some of the areas that may show a little bit of difference. And then we go to the clients and we talk about with the project data. So it's not an assumption or they're saying this is a program you just want to roll out. It actually has good hard data so they can have an understanding of what is actually happening within their business units. So at this point right now, we're embarking upon a huge consolidation here in the New York metro area. And so even before we go in and do what you call the more traditional programming, they're going to each one of the business units and they're talking about opportunities for more efficient planning, optimizing the space, free addressing and everything. And so this way, you get all these issues out prior to the actual project.
And with your consolidation, do you have a target metric you're trying to hit for the North American portfolio per person, per square foot?
Well, we did, that was very interesting because one of the things that we did about 3 years ago is we went around and globally established space guidelines. So even if we do free addressing or space optimization, the physical space, we want to stay within those guidelines. And it ranges anywhere from 65 square feet per person for trading areas and call centers up to a maximum 130, and that would be our front office space.
Per person.
Per person, correct. And I would say on the average, it's about 100 square feet per person around the globe.
Steve, what are your current metrics at Accenture?
Well, you know, as consultants, we love to track things.
We measure everything.
And so, you know, one of the things that we measure every day at every office is really butts and seats. And so at least once a day, the front office staff goes through and measures or keeps track of how many people are actually sitting in the seats in every workspace throughout the floor or building, wherever they're at. So, you know, we look at the workspaces instead of, you know, a square footage per person, because really our workforce is so fluid and we move around quite a bit. And so we optimize for about 120 square feet per work setting. In North America, that works out to be about 50 square feet per person. And we also track satisfaction quite regularly. And what we've seen, if you look at some of the data, is that as satisfaction has increased, we've been able to simultaneously decrease the footprint. And so it's really about how do you offer services that people want to use. We no longer have phones at every desk. Everyone uses soft phones or their mobile device. And it's really, you know, the satisfaction, our goal is to hit 80%. So we do a 5-star rating, and our goal is to keep it at 4 stars. And presently we're at 4.2, so we're above plan. We know that people will be, you're always going to have people who are disappointed. And really that 80-20 rule kind of holds true there. So we really try to optimize to ensure that at least 80% of our workforce is highly satisfied with their conditions.
I know it. Microsoft, Cisco, IBM, the issue of actually bringing people back into the office has been a challenge. I would like to hear from the panel, what are you doing in terms of, Steve, and you'll talk about this later, the digital physical blur. Those of us like myself, I only go into a traditional office 4 hours a week. How do you get people engaged back into the office? And any thoughts there or any innovations that you can share with us? Marilyn?
We probably don't have that at this point because we still have a good portion of people that are still in the office. They may not be in the office full time, but at this point we're probably more...
people are coming in.
People are coming in. It's not an issue for us.
And that's globally for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nona?
I think the same is true for us too. I mean, we do have kind of a guideline that people are allowed to work remotely 2 days a week. But I travel a lot around the country, especially to the 14 sites that we've completed under this program. And when I talk to people, they prefer to be in the office. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there is more collaboration. It's friendly. We have a lot of services that are available on site that people like to take advantage of.
And the new designs that you were describing.
Exactly, the design. It's bright, it's colorful, it is a happy place to be.
They want to come.
And they want to come to the office because they want to see their office mates, particularly since the weather was so bad on the East Coast this year.
Yeah.
People were going stir crazy being at home. They couldn't wait to come into the office. And you know, we have a lot of we have a lot of meet and greet or meet and talk areas rather, and these areas are scattered throughout the entire design plan, and that's where people congregate.
Excellent. Steve, what is Accenture doing? And again, the digital physical blur you'll share with us later upon, but how is Accenture dealing with this challenge?
Yeah, this is a great question. I could talk for probably longer than you'd wish on this. And I also have very strong bias and opinions probably as well as far as where things are trending and where we'll see that in the future. And I think overall, looking at bringing people into the office space, especially at Accenture, our culture at Accenture is actually extraordinarily strong. Given our geographic spread, we oftentimes find challenging interfaces with local culture versus Accenture culture because it takes some time for people to ramp into the Accenture culture and really get them acclimated to that. But we do have a culture of engagement and person-to-person engagement. And that works well to bring people into the office, but oftentimes our colleagues are remote. And the digital tools that we offer them, whether it's instant messaging, video conferencing, telepresence-like systems, and so forth, really help to break down that divide, especially as people are traveling. And I think as we look into the future, where that's headed, if we look at real estate, we have an awful lot of vacancies if we look at 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, where those buildings are kind of latent assets for the most part. And as we look into the future, we start seeing more mixed use start coming into play. We start seeing a lot more work from home type arrangements. If you look at what some of the more progressive developers are doing, there's a lot of, even in some of the high-rise condo buildings, there's a lot of home office space.
In San Francisco, New York in particular.
Exactly,
right.
exactly. As you look at urban density, those challenges kind of come front and center. So as we look at this smart city revolution, the Internet of Everything, then those are really causing all of those ecosystem of challenges to offer new and different solutions. And how do we use traditional office space as now mixed use space? How do we make conference rooms like this available for community meetings at night and those type of things? And
there's more 24/7 utilization.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, to close out the panel, and then we'll have, I think, time for maybe one question. Tweetable Forecast for the future, 2024, what will we be expecting? Marilyn.
I see it more of a hospitality type of environment, something very similar to what you were just saying, something that's a very fluid space, easily interchangeable as they do in the hospitality. So I think as things come and you prearrange or something and you come in, and if you need like a conference setting like this, or if you're going to have your team in and have a different type of setting. So I think it's more of very flexible, non-traditional office space.
And socially driven. Nona?
Correct.
I think for our company, we're really quite new still in this program. We are still having to identify the use of technology and integrate that into our environment and into our design. And that's what I think is the most important thing for us. The integration of technology, particularly since we are now working with geniuses, our genius pool, I call them.
Artificial intelligence in Germany, where
unbelievable, and I'm thinking I'm designing this office with non-human. With these elements, and they're like light years ahead of us already. So I think the important thing for Siemens is to continue to look at the technology piece and continue to be very innovative in the way that we're building out space.
Excellent.
That is key.
Please.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, what I was saying about the workplace in the future was my own personal, it wasn't really reflective of the company per se.
Okay.
Because you were looking for the future.
Right,
yeah.
but we're hoping Citi will get there.
I think so.
Okay, Steve, let's close it out.
And,
We've got
and with
2
that
minutes.
disclaimer, I'll give the technology vision version of this as well. In 10 years, really what we'll see is the borderless enterprise.
Yeah.
And that's from every aspect, whether it's physical location or whether it's the people. And so if the employees within your organization are not being shared with other companies today, which is generally the norm, they will be in the future.
The human cloud.
So absolutely, that global workforce that is highly passionate about very specific things that you can have access to through crowdsourcing and so forth, it will become the norm. And that's really, how we need to think about how we structure our initiatives going forward.
And the workplace will need to adapt to that new workforce agility and volatility. Well, I want to thank our amazing panel for engaging in this discussion. I want to stay on time for our moderators. Thank you very much.